What's up, boys? Duskborn here for the second video in the series, Why Play of Koa. The second video is going to be about Templar, which is my second most played class and probably the class that I'm most well known to play as from the community. As a disclaimer, as usual, these are alpha situations. A lot of things can change. You can get some reworks going pretty soon at any point. Matter of fact, I know that the Crusader spec is getting some changes in the next patch. Probably nothing major. The spec is really close to release, so I think we can look forward to this video still being of value, even in the near future. The balance is really good on all specs of Templar at the moment. It's a top performer in every situation. Even if we expect some small nerfs, I think the niche that Templar occupies is going to solidify it anywhere in the meta as long as you know how to play it. So let's get into real meat and potatoes. Why play a Templar? So the first reason it's interesting to you. If you like the team, if you like the idea of a monk or paladin type of character, the Templar technically in lore is not really a paladin because it doesn't rely on fate. In fact, it's more about a devotion to a certain type of martial art mastery, which zeal to it gives you access to some holy light power. And I think if you look at the Templar as a martial artist first and foremost, it really distinguishes itself from the Sun Cleric or a paladin character. Um, the second reason to like Templar is it's because it's probably one of the most supporty character. You have the most amount of off healing available to you. You're the only class in the game with a magic dispel without being a healer. You have a lot of possibility to save your teammates or give them different blessings. Um, Now, Templar is a very, very unique class because it has a combo system, and the combo system is a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 tree type of design. So you have the Templar Strike, which is your beginning. It's going to give you the ability to use a follow up, so your first combo. And every step of the combo that you use, you're going to gain a small bonus, and it's going to modify the next spell of your combo. And you have multiple options. As an example, you could use Holy Cleave to make your attacks AoE. You can use Lunge to make your attacks do more damage, or you can use Tears Hammer to give the enemy a powerful dot. Every step of the way, you're going to choose between those spells until you culminate after 3 to a big finisher, whether it be a powerful Tempest, Fist of Fury type ability called Thousand Blades, or a Chastise, which is your type of filler spell hybrid. Now, I think it's a very love or hate, and I personally really love it, and I know some people think it's a little simple, but I think it's one of those simple where the ocean is very narrow, but it's extremely deep. The more you play it, the deeper it gets. And I think this almost infinite amount of variation in your small rotation is what makes Templar very interesting to me. Now, if I had to compare it to a retail class, I would say that the tank spec plays very much like a Brewmaster with its stagger mechanic, or a prop paladin with the amount of off healing that it has. And I would say that the DPS spec are somewhere in between of a warrior, a windwalker monk, and a red paladin, of course. The mission mash of this kind of depends on the spec, but elements of all three are present in both specs. Um, Now, a few notable spells would be the Libram spells. They are your big cooldowns. You get some powerful effect from reading them, whether it be damage procs, healing procs, damage reduction, or such effect. The second spell would be Chastise is going to be your main filler finisher. You're going to be able to do a big burst of damage. It's like a magic ball that you throw. You have Zeal and which is a big AoE freedom and sprint. You have Unburden, which is directly freedom. To be honest with you, you have some access to a big leap, a lot of charge. You're a very mobile class. Of course, you have the unique Prey, which is an off-field that dispels magic, and you have Thousand Blades, which is very, very iconic. It looks like a Fist of Fury with holy VFX, and I think it's amazing. It hits really, really hard in every situation. And you have probably my favorite spell, which is Meditation, which it's 80% damage reduction. This thing is the closest thing you can get to an immunity without having an actual immunity. Now, we're going to go into the specs breakdown. So the first spec we're going to look at is Crusader. Now, Crusader plays with a big two-handed weapon, and you're going to use Shaman gear because you're a spell melee hybrid that uses spell power. A lot of your attacks are going to be very holy based, which is great because it means you bypass armor as a whole. You do a lot of really big hits during your cooldown windows, and you chain a lot of AoE easily because your Holy Cleave is empowered compared to the other specs. And you, of course, have access to the very iconic Blade Tempest, Righteous Tempest, and it's basically Holy Blade Storm, as you can see on the screen right now. I think the spec is super fun. You have access to powerful execute windows. It's really good in Mythic Plus and AoE. It's probably my favorite spec of Templar. Now, the second spec is Zealot. Zealot is a little bit on the flip side. It's a dual wield spec that focuses on the physical side of the class. You bypass armor with your combos. You smash the enemy around. You make them knock back and you leap back to them. You have a lot of damage that can come, and Zealot operates a little bit better in smaller amount of cleave than Crusader does, but Zealot also still becomes very useful in extreme amount of cleave. It doesn't lose damage when you go higher targets. It's the little middle ground can be a little bit awkward, but you're one of the rare melee on capped AoE specs. It's the fact that it's dual wield would let you to believe that it might be a little bit faster, but honestly, it plays at pretty much the same pace, and I think that's kind of interesting. The way that you do feel a little bit faster is because you have access to a very unique ability called Sanctified Smash, where you cast it and it casts on its own again after a second of delay. So you can kind of bypass the tree step of combo. I think that's very fun. I think it's very unique. It takes a little bit of practice to get into, but I think it's not a bad thing. And finally, the last spec would be Oathkeeper. Now, Oathkeeper Templar is the tank spec, and as usual, it's a spec that I really love because I like all the tanks. Oathkeeper is the stagger tank of Koa, if you guys are familiar with Brewmaster, which means that instead of taking a lot of damage, what you do is you take damage, but you take a portion and you take it as a dot, and you have some tools to manage that dot. In a sense, you reduce the damage taken after the hit, so you can play around. And the way that Oathkeeper does that is playing with his Librams, and the Librams you have ways to reduce their cooldown so you can clear more stagger, and that's the primary gameplay loop of Oathkeeper. Now, you have a lot of access to off healing and such, so you can fill a role like a prop paladin would. I would say Oathkeeper's performance is extremely high right now, and I would really say that it's going to stay the same. Even if we take some nerfs, this spec is very well designed, and I think it's going to stand the test of time as it is. I personally would heavily encourage anyone that's remotely interested in playing Templar to go and play Templar. Give it a try. You get your main meat and potatoes of the spec before level 10. Like your basic combos, you're going to get all the tools for it before level 10. It's actually one of the best early experience leveling. Um, on this, I hope you guys enjoy it. Once again, leave a comment about anything you would want. If you want to see the next class, if you want to tell me that I'm good or bad at my job, it's all good. I'll take it in stride. And I'll catch you guys next time.